The cross, one of the most recognized symbols in the world and embraced by numerous cultures, esoteric orders, and religions, holds ancient secrets that can transform how you perceive spirituality. By understanding its true essence, you can unlock the doors to a new dimension of self-awareness and inner growth. In the Gnostic tradition, the cross represents much more than a religious symbol. It is a key to unveiling divine mysteries and a portal to spiritual enlightenment. By exploring the profound layers of meaning of the cross, you embark on a journey of self-discovery that has the potential to transform your worldview. Your perceptions will be challenged and expanded as we delve into the historical origins of the cross in Gnosticism and reveal how it symbolizes the quest for true knowledge. We will discover how the cross is seen as a path to liberation from suffering and the transcendence of the limitations of the material world. You will realize that the hidden wisdom of the cross has profound implications for your personal journey of spiritual growth, unraveling the secrets that can elevate your consciousness to new heights. To understand the Gnostic meaning of the cross, it is necessary to explore its historical origins and how it was incorporated into this ancient tradition. Unlike Orthodox Christianity, which primarily views the cross as a symbol of sacrifice and redemption, in Gnosticism it assumes complex and profound meanings. Since the early centuries of the Common Era, Gnostics have seen the cross as an esoteric emblem, a key to secret knowledge reserved for the initiated. Gnosticism emerged as a religious and philosophical movement during the early stages of Christianity, with intertwined roots in various ancient traditions, including Judaism, Platonism, and mystery cults. The Gnostics reinterpreted many traditional Christian symbols, including the cross, attributing new meanings to them that reflected their unique beliefs about the spiritual and material worlds. The cross, in particular, became a symbol of the encounter between the divine and the human, representing the ascension of the enlightened soul beyond the corrupt physical reality. Gnostic texts, such as the Gospel of Thomas and the Apocryphon of John, provide fascinating insights into how the cross was understood and venerated in Gnostic communities. These writings often describe the cross not as an instrument of torture, but as a symbol of gnosis and the revelation of divine mysteries. In many of these narratives, the cross is depicted as a portal to the pleroma, the divine fullness from which all things emanate. In Gnostic cosmology, the material world is often seen as a prison for the soul, an imperfect creation of the archons, intermediary beings who obstruct the soul's ascension. In this context, the cross symbolizes the path to liberation, a means to transcend the limitations imposed by physical existence and achieve true divine knowledge. The rich and complex symbolism of the cross in Gnosticism highlights how this symbol can be reinterpreted and understood in diverse and profound ways. While traditional Christianity views the cross primarily as an instrument of martyrdom, Gnostics perceive it as an emblem of the quest for and acquisition of transformative knowledge. This unique perspective on the cross opens the door to a broader understanding of its role in the human spiritual journey. More than a religious symbol, the cross emerges as a guide to inner enlightenment, inviting us to transcend the limitations of the material world and embrace the divine wisdom that resides within us. However, the journey of the cross in Gnosticism is not limited to the pursuit of knowledge. It also symbolizes the suffering and transformation that accompanies spiritual awakening. For Gnostics, the material world is seen as a prison for the soul, created by a demiurge, an imperfect creator who imposes limitations on the inner divine essence. In this context, the cross represents the ascension of the soul beyond the restrictions of physical existence, towards true gnosis and union with the divine. The term demiurge in the Bible is often explored in various philosophical and religious currents, which interpret it as an intermediary being between God and humanity, responsible for the creation of the world. Although the concept of the demiurge does not explicitly appear in biblical scriptures, some passages can be associated with this idea, particularly when viewed through the lenses of different theological traditions. In Plato's cosmogonic thought, the demiurge is described as a divine craftsman, the cause of the soul of the world. He does not create the universe ex nihilo, from nothing, but organizes pre-existing and chaotic matter, shaping it according to eternal essences. This demiurge, in his function, imitates these perfect essences to give form to the cosmos. Additionally, Plato describes that lower gods, created by the demiurge, are tasked with the production of mortal beings. This idea of a demiurge as an intermediary creator profoundly influenced Gnostic thought, which emerged in the early centuries of the Christian era. The Gnostics, in their interpretation of the Bible, viewed the demiurge as a being distinct from the supreme God, often depicted in a negative light. For them, the demiurge was responsible for the creation of the material world, which they considered imperfect or corrupt, in contrast to the pure and perfect spiritual realm. Suffering, often associated with the cross, is perceived by the Gnostics as a necessary stage in the process of spiritual awakening. Just as the cross represents both pain and the possibility of transcending it, suffering is seen as a catalyst for inner transformation. Through the trials and challenges faced on the journey of life, the soul is refined and purified, becoming more receptive to divine knowledge. Gnostic texts often compare this purification process to the refinement of precious metals, where impurities are removed to reveal the true essence. Similarly, the suffering represented by the cross is viewed as temporary and transitory, a fundamental step on the path to true freedom and union with the divine. In this perspective, the cross symbolizes the intersection between the human and the divine, the point at which the soul transcends the limitations of the material world and connects with its intrinsic spiritual nature. By embracing suffering and seeking gnosis, the individual embarks on a journey of self-discovery and transformation, freeing themselves from the chains of ignorance and illusion. This view of the cross as a path of transformation and liberation finds parallels in other spiritual traditions, which also recognize the role of suffering in inner growth. The history of the cross in Orthodox Christianity dates back to the early days of the Christian faith, where it emerged as a symbol of great power and significance. The Orthodox cross, distinct for its 3 horizontal arms, has rich symbolism. The upper arm represents the inscription placed above Jesus' head, the middle arm symbolizes Christ's outstretched arms, and the inclined lower arm symbolizes the fate of the 2 thieves crucified alongside Jesus, one to paradise and the other to condemnation. The theological significance of the cross in Orthodox Christianity is profound and varied. For Orthodox Christians, the cross is the symbol of Christ's triumph over death and sin. It represents the intersection between the divine and the human, where Jesus, through his sacrifice, offered salvation to humanity. This act of redemption is continuously celebrated and remembered in the liturgical life of the Church. The spiritual interpretations of the cross in Orthodoxy go beyond Christ's sacrifice. The cross is seen as a source of power and spiritual protection. Orthodox believers hold that the cross has the capacity to ward off evil and bring blessings. It is common to see the cross used in blessing rituals, exorcisms, and other spiritual practices, reinforcing its central role in religious life. As we explore the multiple layers of meaning of the cross, we begin to perceive its timeless relevance to the human journey. More than a religious symbol, the cross emerges as a guide to inner enlightenment, inviting us to embrace the challenge of transformation and seek the true essence of our being. The Ankh cross, one of the most recognized symbols of ancient Egypt, carries a rich and fascinating history. Also known as the Key of Life or Ankh cross, the Ankh has a unique shape, an oval loop at the top of a T-shaped cross. The ancient Egyptians widely used this symbol, which frequently appears on artifacts, tombs, and temples. Widely interpreted as a symbol of life and eternity, for the ancient Egyptians, the Ankh represented eternal life and the vital force that permeates the universe. The oval loop is often interpreted as the sun rising on the horizon, a representation of cyclical life and constant renewal. This symbol was often associated with the Egyptian gods, who were frequently depicted holding the Ankh, indicating their power over life and death. In addition to its meaning of eternal life, the Ankh also symbolized the union of the masculine and feminine. The vertical line of the cross represented the phallus, while the oval loop symbolized the womb, together forming a symbol of fertility and life. This interpretation shows how the Ankh was seen as an emblem of balance and harmony in creation. In Buddhism, the image of the cross can be associated with the concept of dukkha, or suffering, and the quest for liberation from this state through the Eightfold Path. Much like in Gnosticism, Buddhism recognizes the role of suffering as a catalyst for spiritual awakening and transcendence of the material world's limitations. In Christianity, the cross assumes a central significance as a symbol of Christ's redemptive sacrifice and the promise of salvation for humanity. However, beyond this conventional interpretation, some mystical Christian traditions, such as Kabbalah and alchemy, attribute esoteric meanings to the cross that align with Gnostic ideas. In these contexts, the cross is seen as a symbol of the union between the divine and the human, representing the transformation of matter into spirit and the elevation of consciousness. The renowned spiritual author Eckhart Tolle offers a contemporary perspective on the symbolism of the cross that echoes Gnostic ideas. According to Tolle, the cross represents both suffering and the possibility of transcending it, reflecting the soul's journey toward enlightenment. He suggests that consciousness is an emanation of the divine, and that the cross can be understood as the point of intersection where human and divine consciousness meet. This notion of the cross as a portal between the material and spiritual worlds also resonates with the ideas of actor Terence Howard. Howard challenges the traditional view of the cross as a static and linear structure, proposing that it should be understood as a dynamic and complex symbol, reflecting the true nature of the universe. He argues that the conventional conception of the cross promoted by the Church does not represent the true God of the universe, who is much more vast and multifaceted. More than a specific religious emblem, the cross emerges as an archetype that reflects the human journey in search of transcendence and connection with the divine. Whether in Gnosticism, Buddhism, or mystical Christianity, the cross invites us to embrace the challenge of inner transformation and recognize our intrinsic spiritual nature. By recognizing the cross as a point of intersection between the human and the divine, we are encouraged to explore the depths of our consciousness and seek the wisdom that lies beyond the limitations of the material world. The cross, in this sense, becomes a guide for inner enlightenment, inviting us to transcend suffering and embrace our true essence. Thus, we invite you to deepen your own spiritual journey, to embrace the mystery of the cross, and to seek the wisdom that lies beyond the limitations of the material world. May these teachings be a beacon guiding your steps towards inner enlightenment and the discovery of your true divine essence. For an even deeper understanding of how the mind shapes reality, this next video talks exactly about that. If this video made sense to you, Write in the comments, "It made sense to me."